Tube, it's Chelsea back again with actually the first video of its kind today. This is the first ever top 10 video I'm doing, and it is in honor of Game of Thrones week, currently being hosted by Miley over at the YA Bookstand. I believe that she's just now finishing it up. This might be the last post of the week. It might not be though, so you can pop on over and check out her blog. I'll leave links down below, but I'm so excited to be here today. The finale of the fourth season of Game of Thrones just wrapped up in the UK. It's been over here for a little while. All this week has been all Game of Thrones over at Miley's site, and I'm here today to do my first ever top 10 video, which is the top 10 deaths in Game of Thrones, according to me. And I have read all the books that are out thus far, and I've watched the entire series, and it's kind of like a two-sided top 10. First, I'll do the top 5 people that I was super excited to see get kicked the bucket, and then the 5 people that I wish more than anything were still alive because I love them so much. Okay, to start with the top 5 people that I wish, or that I'm super glad are now dead. These are in order, these are ranked. The 5th person that I'm glad is no longer around is Viserys Targaryen. He of the Crown of Gold, the brother who said he would sell out his sister Daenerys for everything she's worth just so he could have the Dothraki army. That tiny little mutiny weasel scumbag got every single thing that he deserved, if not more. I was like literally jumping up and down for that scene in the first season in the TV show. When I read it in the book, I was just like, yes! Like, that's what you get when you tell your sister that you'll let a bunch of horses rape her as long as you get an army, because that is, like, absolutely horrendous. All right. Person number 4 that I was glad to see kick the bucket, and this may be slightly controversial, but maybe not, because I know quite a few people out there who would actually probably agree with me on this. And number 4 is Eddard Stark. Because, come on, dude. Like, come on. See? Can you hear Penny? Even she knows. Honor is one thing, and honor and nobility and all of that is like super great, but not if it's gonna lose you your head. Be smart here, Ned. Come on. So I think personally that Eddard Stark basically deserved what he got, because when you walk up to a villain and you're like, I know your whole evil plan and you can't stop me, like, obviously they're going to try and stop you. So I don't know what else you saw coming. Number 4, who I'm glad is gone, Eddard Stark. Number 3, Shae. Shae the whore, Shae the prostitute. She's called a couple of different things in the book, and here's why. Shae backstabs my number 1 favorite character in Game of Thrones, period. Tyrion Lannister. And the way that she backstabs him, it's not quite as bad in the book, but in the TV show, it is just like, rip my heart out, jump up and down on it. It's bad. I got so emotional that when she finally got everything that was coming to her, I was ecstatic. I was really stoked. I'm glad that she's gone. Number 2, and this is another one that's kind of in the same vein of like the Eddard Stark thing, and that's Lysa Arryn. Because Lysa Arryn is a crazy bitch, you guys. That lady is insane. Like, husband stealing, other people murdering, jealous sister, crazy son having, kinda crazy. Like, she's insane. Not only was I glad to see her go, but I have to give double props to the line in the show when Peter Baelish says, I've only ever loved one woman, and it was your sister. And then he pushes her out the moon door. That's a good scene. That was good writing. That's a good scene. I'm glad that she's gone. And naturally, number 1, no surprise here, this is the person that everybody is rooting for to die, but that nobody ever actually thinks is going to die until he's dead, and it is the late, the not great Joffrey Baratheon. Because, come on, guys, he is quite literally possibly evil incarnate in this book. He's worse than Tywin, he's worse than Cersei, he may even be worse than Roose Bolton, and that's saying something, because Roose Bolton is a maniac. But I was so glad to see Joffrey die. The only thing that was a bummer is that Tyrion ended up on the hook for it. So, that, not so great. But, and you know what? I almost wish that he had died in a more gruesome way. Because poison is one thing, but I wish that that guy had been put through some kind of crazy-ass violence. Just like he put people through when he was king, quote-unquote. So, now that we've sufficiently spoiled anything that you guys haven't already seen, the next 5 are going to be the top 5 people that were near and dear to my heart and that I am incredibly, incredibly sad are no longer with us in this Game of Thrones type universe. These are also ranked in order from 5 to 1. Number 5 is Jon Arryn. And this is weird because we never actually meet Jon Arryn. He's dead by the time we are like with the books. But Jon Arryn and his death and what he knows start off this whole thing. We would not have gotten a single game for any throne if Jon Arryn hadn't done what he done. And so while I'm not like unwishing the series, I would like to see what would have happened if they'd gone like a different way and maybe Jon Arryn was still alive or whatever. So that's my number 5. My number 4, I really hope you guys can feel me on this because it's Khal Drogo. And I know he's like a Dothraki horse lord and that their personalities are not necessarily the most like endearing, and I know he basically rapes Daenerys at the beginning and that is never okay, but I really feel like how do I express this? I feel like he grew as a character, and I feel like he helped Daenerys grow as a character in ways that would not have been possible without him. Not to mention the fact that I think that the actor who played him was absolutely fantastic in the TV show. It was absolutely amazing. I wish that his character could have stayed alive, if only so we could have gotten more of that actor. That's all there is to it. I miss Khal Drogo. Number 3, Catelyn Stark. I know. Of all the people who died at the Red Wedding, Robb Stark probably should have been my choice. But I kind of feel like Robb Stark the way I felt about Ned Stark, which is like, what did you expect to happen? You double-crossed your allies, then went back to them to try to uncross it, and then like went to a party at their house? I don't really know how you saw that working out. But Catelyn was just trying to be there with her son, and she tried so hard to stop it. She didn't, and she had to witness all of that brutality. And, I know there's some, discussion as to whether or not Catelyn's really dead, and in the books, there's this whole gray lady and all of that, but in the TV show and in the books as Catelyn Stark, she's no longer with us, and I just have to give her mad props as a mother, because from basically day 1 of book 1, she's dealing with tragedy, and yet through it all, she manages to stay strong as a character and composed as a character up until the very end, when even then she's pleading for the lives of others. She's pleading that her son not become a murderer. But, of course, naturally, that's what happens, and this is what happens. Sorry, there's like a fly in here. And that's just what happens when you put yourself in the hands of the enemy. But I dearly, dearly miss Catelyn Stark. Choice 2, or my number 2 person who I really, 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 really wish were alive, and I don't know if I have words for how much I'm going to miss this person, and it's Oberyn Martell. Not only because he almost beat the mountain, but because Oberyn Martell is like the wittiest person, I think, in like the entire universe of Game of Thrones, second to Tyrion Lannister. And if there's one thing that I love more than anything that I love, it's a good wit. Good wordplay. And Oberyn is smart. He's super sexy. He's all kinds of loosey-goosey with his morals and sexuality, which, maybe I'm not down with, but maybe I am, and it's just, it would make for an interesting experience. Not to mention he's attractive, not to mention he's royalty, but he is just, his motivations, the motivations behind his actions, the not justification, the revenge upon his sister's name and the horrible things that happened to her and her 2 children. I was rooting for him the entire time. Books, TV show, didn't matter the entire time. When he lost, I was heartbroken. I was literally heartbroken. My heart hurt more than his head. Get it? Game of Thrones joke for anybody who's seen that episode. Anyway, moving on. The last choice, the grand number 1 of the entire top 10, the number 1 person that I wish were still alive more than anything is Ygritte the Wildling. And here's why. I think that Ygritte is one of the strongest female characters we get throughout the Game of Thrones. Not only is she physically and mentally strong. Hello, baby. Come here. Not only is she physically and mentally strong as a wildling, she's also incredibly, incredibly strong just as a woman. She's not afraid to go and do... Hello. Well, hello. Hi. camera. She's not afraid to go and do what her heart tells her to do, even if that means falling in love with someone like Jon Snow, even if it means not necessarily, quote unquote, being a wildling in the way her fellow wildlings wish that she could be. I just love her courage and her convictions. The actress that played her in Game of Thrones was also in Downton Abbey, and I've loved her since I saw her there. I think not only is she gorgeous and does she have the most beautiful red hair, but she has this kind of, not cocky demeanor, but this confidence in her that just says that I will do what I want to live my truth, and if it's not your truth, then you can fuck off. And I just think that that is so amazing. And she, to me, is kind of an emblem of all of the really great character writing that George R. R. Martin does for females. And this is kind of my one little chance to get on a soapbox and say that if there's anything I wish you could take away from Game of Thrones as a reader or a watcher, it's that George R. R. Martin, maybe more so than anybody like currently writing in modern fantasy, with the exception of, I'm thinking like maybe Patrick Rothfuss and Brandon Sanderson, he writes such good female characters. They're so well-rounded. There's so many of them to choose from, and it's not perfect, but it's so good, especially if you read a whole bunch, any of the other like super long epic fantasy, high fantasy that's out there. It's hard to find that big a cast of characters of strong females, and that's why I miss Ygritte so much. But that's gonna wrap up my top 10 list for today, for my first one ever, also for this kind of guest post for Game of Thrones week. Thank you so much to Miley for inviting me, Miley for inviting me and letting me be here and to participate. I'm gonna leave any pertinent links down below, a link to Miley's website, all my social media and all that jazz. I'll go ahead and I'll link to like the IMDb for Game of Thrones in case you want to know the actual actor names for any of these characters I've mentioned. But thank you guys so much for stopping by today. Thank you so much for watching this video. To those of you who are regular watchers, I'm so sorry I was gone all week. I was laid out basically with the stomach flu, and there's nothing that can get you out of bed and make you rally quite like Game of Thrones. And with that, I'm actually going to go watch the finale with my husband because we have it on our TiVo. We've been taping it. Bye, guys.